Welcome back to our series, Anthem. Let's start off with our question. Have you ever forgotten something and thought to yourself, wow, I really should have written that down? We all have memories that fail us sometimes. Memory, remembering, and keeping stories alive is a really important part of the human experience. However, some of us are much better at living in the now or looking forward to the future than we are at remembering the past. When you were younger, there were lots of things you probably did to help you learn and remember things. We probably all learned to sing the alphabet, to name the animals on Old MacDonald's farm, to sing Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, or the words to Happy Birthday. Sometimes we use songs, rhymes, and rhythms to help us remember things. These handy devices help us remember our alphabets and animal sounds, but they can help us remember a lot more than that too. Last time we started a series where we're exploring the book of the Bible called the Book of Psalms. This book is a collection of songs, rhymes, and rhythms written by and for the nation of Israel. Just like we use songs to remind us of important things, the writers of Psalms did this too. They wrote down some of the things God had done for them so that when times were rough, it would be easy to trust God, even if things were looking bleak. Israel on the run! After years of enslavement late last night, the Israelites fled the nation of Egypt under the protection of their God. Cloudy with a chance of quail? Eyewitness accounts say food is falling from the sky. Flocks of birds and a mysterious bread-like substance have appeared in the desert just in time to save the Israelites from starvation. Israel undefeated! After yet another confrontation with enemy armies, Israel remains undefeated in battle due to mysterious and miraculous circumstances. If you have a lot of experience with the church, do any of these stories sound familiar? If so, is it easy or difficult to recall the details? Whether you've heard these stories before or not, these stories really made up the national history of Israel. Imagine you witnessed God do an incredible miracle today. How would you share that important story with others? What tools or channels of communication would you use? Without important tools like paper, ink, video, phones, the internet, and electricity, it's hard to imagine how you'd spread the word about important facts or stories. Even if you managed to tell the story to 100 people, then what? I guess they could all tell the story to others, but what if they forgot important details or misremembered what happened? What about 10 years in the future? What about 100 years later? As time passed, how could your story continue to be passed on to others? In a time and place where people had very few ways to communicate, other than talking face to face, the Israelites had to get creative. To make sure those stories of God's miracles were remembered and retold from generation to generation, they sometimes stacked huge rocks in places where important things happened. They renamed locations and even people after God did something miraculous. They established new traditions, holidays, and feasts to help themselves not forget. And of course, they wrote songs to tell their stories. Then they sang those songs during their holidays, feasts, and worship services. There are 15 very short songs in the Book of Psalms. It's believed the Israelites used to sing these songs, Psalms 120 through 134, on their way to worship God in the temple or at one of their commemorative feasts. Let's go on a pattern hunting mission. We're going to read these 15 Psalms, again, remember, they're really short, and see what patterns we can spot. In my distress I called to the Lord, and he answered me. Lord, rescue me from lying lips and a deceitful tongue. What will he give you, and what will he do to you, you deceitful tongue? A warrior's sharp arrows with burning charcoal. What misery that I have stayed in Meshach, that I have lived among the tents of Kedar. I have dwelt too long with those who hate peace. I am for peace, but when I speak, they are for war. I lift my eyes toward the mountains. Where will my help come from? My help comes from the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth. He will not allow your foot to slip. Your protector will not slumber. Indeed, the protector of Israel does not slumber or sleep. The Lord protects you. The Lord is a shelter right by your side. The sun will not strike you by day or the moon by night. The Lord will protect you from all harm. He will protect your life. The Lord will protect your coming and going both now and forever. I rejoiced with those who said to me, let's go to the house of the Lord. Our feet were standing within your gates, Jerusalem. Jerusalem built as a city should be, solidly united, where the tribes, the Lord's tribes, go up to give thanks to the name of the Lord. This is an ordinance for Israel. There thrones for judgment are placed, thrones of the house of David. Pray for the well-being of Jerusalem. May those who love you be secure. May there be peace within your walls, security within your fortresses. Because of my brothers and friends, I will say, may peace be in you. Because of the house of the Lord our God, I will pursue your prosperity. I lift my eyes to you, the one enthroned in heaven. Like a servant's eyes on his master's hand, like a servant girl's eyes on her mistress's hand, So our eyes are on the Lord our God until he shows us favor. Show us favor, Lord, show us favor, for we've had more than enough contempt. We've had more than enough scorn from the arrogant and contempt from the proud. If the Lord had not been on our side, let Israel say. If the Lord had not been on our side when people attacked us, then they would have swallowed us alive in their burning anger against us. Then the water would have engulfed us, the torrent would have swept over us, the raging water would have swept over us. Blessed be the Lord who has not let us be ripped apart by their teeth. We have escaped like a bird from the hunter's net. The net is torn, and we have escaped. Our help is in the name of the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth. Those who trust in the Lord are like Mount Zion. It cannot be shaken. It remains forever. The mountains surround Jerusalem, and the Lord surrounds his people, both now and forever. The scepter of the wicked will not remain over the land allotted to the righteous, so that the righteous will not apply their hands to injustice. Do what is good, Lord, to the good, to those whose hearts are upright. But as for those who turn aside to crooked ways, the Lord will banish them with the evildoers. Peace be with Israel. When the Lord restored the fortunes of Zion, we were like those who dream. Our mouths were filled with laughter then, and our tongues with shouts of joy. Then they said among the nations, the Lord has done great things for them. The Lord has done great things for us. We were joyful. Restore our fortunes, Lord, like watercourses in the Negev. Those who sow in tears will reap with shouts of joy. Though one goes along weeping, carrying the bag of seed, he will surely come back with shouts of joy, carrying his sheaves. Unless the Lord builds a house, its builders labor over it in vain. Unless the Lord watches over his city, the watchman stays alert in vain. In vain, you get up early and stay up late, working hard to have enough food. Yes, he gives sleep to the one he loves. Sons are indeed a heritage from the Lord, offspring a reward. Like arrows in the hand of a warrior are the sons born in one's youth. Happy is the man who has filled his quiver with them. They will never be put to shame when they speak with their enemies at the city gate. How happy is everyone who fears the Lord, who walks in his ways. You will surely eat what your hands have worked for. You will be happy, and it will go well for you. Your wife will be like a fruitful vine within your house, your children like young olive trees around your table. In this very way, the man who fears the Lord will be blessed. May the Lord bless you from Zion, so that you will see the prosperity of Jerusalem all the days of your life, and will see your children's children. Peace be with Israel. Since my youth they have often attacked me, let Israel say. Since my youth they have often attacked me, but they have not prevailed against me. Plowmen plowed over my back. They made their furrows long. The Lord is righteous. He has cut the ropes of the wicked. Let all who hate Zion be driven back in disgrace. Let them be like grass on the rooftops, which withers before it grows up, and can't even feel the hands of the reaper or the arms of the one who binds sheaves. Then none who pass by will say, may the Lord's blessing be on you. We bless you in the name of the Lord. Out of the depths I call you, Lord. Lord, listen to my voice. Let your ears be attentive to my cry for help. Lord, if you keep an account of iniquities, Lord, who could stand? But with you there is forgiveness, so that you may be revered. I wait for the Lord. I wait and put my hope in his word. I wait for the Lord, more than watchmen for the morning, more than watchmen for the morning. Israel, put your hope in the Lord, for there is faithful love with the Lord, and with him is redemption in abundance, and he will redeem Israel from all its iniquities. Lord, my heart is not proud. My eyes are not haughty. I do not get involved with things too great or too wondrous for me. Instead, I have calmed and quieted my soul like a weaned child with its mother. My soul is like a weaned child. Israel, put your hope in the Lord, both now and forever. Lord, remember David and all the hardships he endured, and how he swore an oath to the Lord, making a vow to the Mighty One of Jacob. I will not enter my house or get into my bed. I will not allow my eyes to sleep or my eyelids to slumber until I find a place for the Lord, a dwelling for the Mighty One of Jacob. We heard of the ark in Ephrath. We found it in the fields of Jaar. Let's go to his dwelling place. Let's worship at his footstool. Rise up, Lord, come to your resting place, you and your powerful ark. May your priests be clothed with righteousness, and may your faithful people shout for joy. For the sake of your servant David, do not reject your anointed one. The Lord swore an oath to David, a promise he will not abandon. I will set one of your offspring on your throne. If your sons keep my covenant and my decrees that I will teach them, their sons will also sit on your throne forever. For the Lord has chosen Zion. He has desired it for his home. This is my resting place forever. I will make my home here because I have desired it. I will abundantly bless its food. I will satisfy its needy with bread. I will clothe its priests with salvation, and its faithful people will shout for joy. There I will make a horn grow for David. I have prepared a lamp for my anointed one. I will clothe his enemies with shame, but the crown he wears will be glorious. How delightfully good when brothers live together in harmony. It is like fine oil on the head, running down on the beard, running down Aaron's beard onto his robes. It is like the dew of Hermon, falling on the mountains of Zion. For there the Lord has appointed the blessing, life forevermore. Now bless the Lord, all you servants of the Lord who stand in the Lord's house at night. Lift up your hands in the holy place and bless the Lord. May the Lord, maker of heaven and earth, bless you from Zion. The pattern of these psalms is really simple, and it's a helpful formula to help us remember how to give God praise. In each of these psalms, the psalmist says, I'm in trouble, or we were in trouble. We called to God and God heard us. When we trust God, God helps us, or God deserves our praise. Jesus used some of these same psalms when he worshiped. In fact, just before Jesus' death, he shared a meal with his disciples as part of the Israelite festival of Passover. As a part of the celebration, Jesus would have shared a meal and sung a song with his disciples. Let's read from Matthew 26. As they were eating, Jesus took bread, blessed and broke it, gave it to the disciples, and said, Take and eat it. This is my body. Then he took a cup, and after giving thanks, he gave it to them and said, Drink from it, all of you. For this is my blood of the covenant, which is poured out for many for the forgiveness of sins. But I tell you, I will not drink from this fruit of the vine from now on until that day when I drink it new with you in my Father's kingdom. After singing a hymn, they went out to the Mount of Olives. The traditional songs sung during Passover by the Israelites were Psalms 113 through 117. Let's look at one of those psalms to see what Jesus may have sung with his followers. I love the Lord because he has heard my appeal for mercy. Because he has turned his ear to me, I will call out to him as long as I live. The ropes of death were wrapped around me, and the torments of Sheol came over me. I encountered trouble and sorrow. Then I called on the name of the Lord. Lord, save me. The Lord is gracious and righteous. Our God is compassionate. The Lord guards the inexperienced. I was helpless, and he saved me. Return to your rest, my soul, for the Lord has been good to you. For you, Lord, rescued me from death, my eyes from tears, my feet from stumbling. I will walk before the Lord in the land of the living. I believed even when I said, I am severely oppressed. In my alarm, I said, everyone is a liar. How can I repay the Lord for all the good he has done for me? I will take the cup of salvation and call on the name of the Lord. I will fulfill my vows to the Lord in the presence of all his people. The death of his faithful ones is valuable in the Lord's sight. Lord, I am indeed your servant. I am your servant, the son of your female servant. You have loosened my bonds. I will offer you a thanksgiving sacrifice and call on the name of the Lord. I will fulfill my vows to the Lord in the presence of all his people, in the courts of the Lord's house, within you, Jerusalem. Hallelujah. Just as God's plan to save the world through Jesus was coming to pass, Jesus himself was singing songs of remembrance that God is a God who saves. God created humans to be in relationship with God, but because of sin, those relationships were broken. But God's people were promised that there would be a permanent solution to this brokenness, that there would one day be a way for this relationship to be made right. The solution came through Jesus. Just like Jesus remembered the words of the psalmist, and the psalmist remembered the incredible things God had done, we are called to remember as well. We may not always be good at remembering details, but we can learn to remember the stories of God's goodness and praise God for them. Those songs we find in the book of Psalms are worth remembering, and new songs are still worth writing. Because we worship to remember what God has done. We've talked a lot about remembering today. That's because remembering is so important. It's not only good for building your faith, but it's also good for your brain. Scientists who study the human brain have observed something called neuroplasticity. They've learned from brain scans that people who spend time each day remembering what God has done through prayer and worship actually increase the neuroplasticity of their brains. Now, neuroplasticity is the ability of the brain to adapt to changes in an individual's environment by forming new neural connections over time. It explains how the human brain is able to adapt, master new skills, store memories and information, and even recover after a traumatic brain injury. So the more time you spend focused on prayer and worship, the stronger the neural connections in your brain become. The easier it becomes for you to make prayer and worship a habit, the easier it is for you to remember what God has done, and the more real and personal your faith becomes. In other words, even if you're not feeling full of faith, worship anyway, because remembering what God has done and responding in worship can help build your faith. Let me ask, do you write in a journal or diary, either in a book or through an app or website? Just like the psalmist wrote songs to remember God's stories, we write in journals and diaries to remember special moments of our lives. Journals help us remember what happened, what we think about what happened, and how we felt about what happened. Over time, as our memories fade, journals can be a powerful reminder of moments and feelings we may have otherwise forgotten or misremembered. Do you think journaling might help you remember what God has done for you? It doesn't need to include handwriting in a physical book. Journaling can be done through a journaling app or maybe through a collection of photos or videos you take. Some people even make some of their journaling public to share their stories in real time. What do you think would happen if you made an effort to journal regularly to help you remember what God has done? This week, I want to challenge you to write your own psalm that is specific to your life, using the pattern we identified in Psalms 120 through 134. Start by identifying a struggle or challenge that you or your community faced. Think about how you called out to God and how God responded during that time. Sometimes we can see how God was at work more easily when we look back. And when we trust God, God helps us. Identify how trusting in God helped that circumstance and what you've learned about trusting God. And then think about ways and reasons God is deserving of praise based on your specific circumstance from the first step. Now write a verse about each of these steps. That's your psalm. You may even want to share it with others. There are so many ways to remember and to worship. Journaling is one of them, but music, of course, is another. The songs in the book of Psalms remember what God did for the people of Israel, and the songs we write today do the same for us. Spend some time this week in worship. God has done amazing things for us individually, for our communities, and for humanity as a whole, and we can remember those amazing things through worship. Let's not let our worship end here. Let's continue worshiping throughout the week as we worship to remember what God has done.